Well, I got nothing to lose, so nobody cares. If I'm visible, hello, this is a test. Yeah, okay. Just wanted to see if it was going through to the stream. Um, it's been a while. It's been a while since I've actually communicated to any of my online people, to anybody on this channel. I took a break because one, my sleeping schedule was completely out of whack. Um, Going to the gym at like 11, what was it, 11 to 3 a.m. Some people would be like, why are you at the gym that long? Isn't that a problem? Um, yes and no. But at the time, it made sense. I was working out with somebody who was teaching me quite a lot, and became a workout partner. But eventually, things caught up to me where kind of needed to choose me first because I wasn't comfortable in that environment. And not to blame anybody or point fingers or anything like that, but it was a very interesting situation that kind of why this video is a journal entry. It's a part of my diary, but it's a conversation about honesty and how people forget that not many very people are honest um at all, like at all. I don't want to make this video about anyone in particular, but if anything, this video is going to be about how what happened. So I was a part of a server called the Rabbit Hole, and I knew a lot of great people there, but being adept in being able to read social cues, there was a lot that I wasn't saying. And there was a lot because I don't say these things and because I don't find a way to address them, it kind of pile on. So like, it's kind of funny because I want to say like a few months ago, that Rabbit Hole server went through a second deletion of its Discord. And when I tried coming back, I noticed that there was a lot of hesitation with how they were dealing with me because I'm guessing they had suspicions that I was related to their deletion. But it's because I wasn't honest. I wasn't honest with why I left the first time. And if I needed to say it verbatim or at least outright and blunt, I left because the guy who controlled the email to the YouTube channel that I was uploading to wasn't very trusting of me. And it's not like a trust issue of like, is he gonna do something with the account, or is he gonna hijack it, or this or that? A lot of it was his own issues, but his own issues were manifesting into decisions that he was making that kind of left me out in the cold sometimes. And I had to grapple with somebody who had his own agenda and wanted to do his own thing, but grappling with the situation that he couldn't do those things with me around. So I just made the conscious decision of, if you're going to handle this and if you want to do this the way you want to do it, I'll just let you do it. Like, I'll leave. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm a very avoidant. I have a very avoidant way of dealing with these things. And right, I thought that was the issue with the Rabbit Hole server, so I just left. And what happened there was just more of the same. At least he made a lot of decisions, influenced another person, and then that person went off the rails and got kicked off of his show. I'm not too sure about the specifics. I just know very loosely about what happened. But I never told anybody. So by the time I came back after the server deletion, there was a lot of like weirdness with like, were you the one that did this? But nobody wanted to outright say it. But I eventually told one person, Choke, that's his online handle. I told him the truth. I was like, look, I left because so and so was power tripping over me, so I just left. Because it's not like anybody told me that I wasn't welcomed or anything like that. It was just very obvious with the way that he was dealing with me that he would rather not have me there. So I thought that was just going to be that, right? But no. Right? There was a lack of honesty. There was a lack of me speaking up because I knew it was going to lead to issues. But because I didn't address those issues at the beginning, now I feel like I can't communicate with those guys anymore because of that. So funny story how this leads into this most recent escapade of mine. Right, I was going to this gym. There was a social group, and because I was very avoidant conflict, I wanted to avoid conflict. I wanted to avoid any drama, right? That whole scenario repeated itself again with me not being honest, with me not being outright and forthright. So this video is primarily for myself because I just have nobody to talk to this about, at least in the way that I want to talk about it. And let's just say this particular individual was creating this sort of scenario that everyone was going along with. And I never challenged it outright directly to this person. And because I never kind of like challenged him in front of anybody, this person had a lot of control over how this was being perceived with other people. Kind of the like, basically, I'm just saying that what happened with the Discord server happened again in my life. But I think it was just a giant lesson of this is what you get for not being honest. This is what you get for not outright stating at least my position in the scenario. And because I don't know, the way I viewed it was just like, do I want to create all this drama? Well, in me not creating drama still occurred. And it kind of left people with a lot of misunderstandings in both circumstances, at the gym and with the Discord server. And I'm learning now that it's just better to be honest. It's better to just be, at least put my foot down and explain my position in the situation, instead of letting the other person kind of control and dictate the whole dynamic. Because I don't know, I was just letting things go by the wayside and not being, I don't want to say like honest with myself, but I wasn't being honest with anybody. I just kind of kept to myself. Again, being avoidant because of the conflict and all this other drama. And as it is right now, I left that time slot. I am no longer going to the gym at that specific time slot because of the social group, because of what manifested out of me not being honest, right? Well, that was, at the same time, I have to recognize that this person created the scenario and maintained that scenario for quite some time for people to believe in. And because I was so distrusting of it, I interacted with somebody else and wasn't completely honest with that person. And because I wasn't honest with that person, like, right, I was playing all these fucking mind games. I literally played into the fucking mind game, or like, I don't know. It just feels like when you walk into a field and there's a sign that says, watch out for landmines. Just like, oh shit, I don't want to step in the wrong location. And it just kept leading on to bigger and bigger issues at the end of the day. And I don't want to blame anybody but myself, because, you know, people reap what they sow, right? If you're going to do evil, right, bad things happen, right? You like, nothing can change that. And with me being avoidant, not being honest, not telling the truth, and not asking more direct questions or being more direct with my speech, I just kind of let what was going on happen, and I continued letting it happen. So being honest with myself, or at least being honest with myself, being honest with others, and not lying or not playing into this game where then I start lying, I start manipulating, I start muddying the waters, I start doing this, I start doing that. Like, it was just terrible. It was a fucking terrible time. I don't want to mention names, but I will mention a scenario where, because I didn't want to be honest with how I felt towards a particular individual, I started playing mind games with other people at the gym to create this facade of like, oh, I'm not really looking at that person. I'm actually more interested in this person, or I'm this or that. When in reality, I can't even talk to a girl right now. I can't even talk to a female, period. Like, I've been so out of touch with the dating market that it's daunting. And then I've been looking at all this content from MGTOW, which is Men Go Their Own Way, or the Red Pill stuff, or the Red Pill movement, or whatever. That's kind of jaded me to such a degree where I really am not trusting of the opposite sex. I have 11 minutes. And because I'm not very trusting of the opposite sex, I created all of these ideas and all of these assumptions, and I played off of them, and it just fucking went terrible. It was god awful, and it just kept playing out in this certain way where there was just more and more and more misunderstandings. To give an example, right, where I muddied the waters, or I kept, right, like, the way I saw it was, if this individual is going to be manipulative, I'm going to be manipulative, which is not a great idea. So there's this game called Telephone, right? We play it as kids, or at least teachers, or some scenario where people played this as a kid, where you had a line of people and one person says one thing because then that person hears it and has to repeat it to the next person down, and it'll go down the line, and by the time it gets to the end, the message is so distorted from what it started off with that now you don't really know what was the initial message to begin with. The person knows either way. So because I didn't want to admit that this one particular individual had my interest, I heard external people say certain things about this person's physical appearance, and to like muddy the waters, and so people didn't know that I actually liked this individual, I took what other people were saying and then I said it. And I said it to certain people that I knew were going to pass on the message to so and so. So I said it to so and so, and I knew what was going to happen. I knew this person was going to fucking waltz over and tell this other person, "Hey, so and so said this. So and so is more interested in this person." And I kept doing that because I didn't want to be honest. I wanted to be avoidant. I wanted to like get people off of my back. That didn't work out too well at all. Instead, it just snowballed into an even bigger fucking problem, and it was fucking terrible. Like, I could say what I did was pretty bad, but what this other person was doing was way the fuck worse. But playing into it with me not being honest, with me not actually just being like, because now that I think about it, I'm gonna leave all this, right? You should let dead things be dead. You should just let the past be the past. But at the same time, I've been mulling this over in my head or at least now, my conclusion is, what would have happened if I would have just been honest? Like, of course, I'm not going to dwell on it, but when I think about it, it wouldn't have been so bad. At least with what occurred right now, with what happened back then, I think things would have played out much differently. But a lot of it came from the fact that I was distrusting. I was attaching old things to the new, and it just kept deteriorating and destroying everything that was happening in the present, or at least whatever. You get what I'm saying? It's the past now, but as it was occurring. And fuck. I think my the hardest lesson I learned now was just be honest. What's the fucking worst that can happen, right? Cuz with how things ended now, it just leaves a very sour taste in my mouth. Cuz I've thought it over. I think nothing can come of that situation anymore. Just because of how I acted, how this other person acted, and I left somebody in complete misunderstandings. Where I don't know what they know because I kept creating these scenarios where I just was avoidant. I wasn't honest. I never said anything. I never actively got to know the other person enough where they felt comfortable enough to ask me the truth. Or it was kind of vice versa. Because anytime I spoke to this individual, I could tell there was a giant guard up where I could tell this person also didn't, this other person was also hurt enough that they always had this like guard up of like playing mental chess games of like, oh, I can tell you this, but I can't tell you this. I have to act like this in front of others because X, Y, or Z, social stigma, this or that. And it's just like, fuck. If I would have just told that person like, hey, I know your entire history, which would have been awkward because it would have been like, well, how do you know everything about me if you've never talked to me? And I'm like, well, there are people fucking here who have big ass mouths and I just fucking listen to everything. It comes with the fact that I've been researching for a very long time, and you know, you hear something, you kind of remember it. 17 minutes. Fuck it, I'll let it be like 25 minutes. I don't really care. And I learned a lot about honesty and about how my own personality with my, I don't want to say issues, but there are issues, right? Because I couldn't trust the other person. I couldn't trust them. I couldn't trust them. And it just snowballed into like, all right, so like the individual who was the wedge or the person acting as the barrier between me and X, you know, I started feeding this idea that I couldn't trust anybody else. And I couldn't tell anybody else anything, that I cut off everybody, right? Because it was a social group that was already existent, so they already knew each other. So it was very difficult, at least even before this other person showed up, it was already difficult for me to become friends with these people. They were very, not like stonewalling, but it was very difficult for them to, I just felt like I wasn't being accepted as a friend. And this was at a time where I didn't realize that I had my own issues with friendships because I had just lost my best friend, Danny. And that's a whole other fucking bag of worms. Not like lost as in, you know what I mean, the big D, but like the big D, lol. But in terms of we ran into odds with one another and we never spoke after that. And I was looking for friendship without realizing that I was looking for friendship with people that I didn't know if I could trust or not. Instead, I just kept trying to become friends with them, and which led to this false sense of integrity, which led to this false sense of like I have to be a part of the boys. I can't betray the boys or this or that, without realizing that there was much deeper issues with that, with not everybody in that friend group, but just one person in particular, which is the wedge between me and said person. And I just cut them all off and didn't try to explain myself, didn't try to say anything, just let things go on by because I was avoiding conflict. But in avoiding that conflict, it created more drama. Fucking terrible. And I'm just seeing a lot of parallels between this situation and with the previous group of friends that I had with the rabbit hole, I wasn't I wasn't being myself. I was deluding myself to try to fit in. But, that also comes with the fact that I just lost that friendship with my friend Danny, etc., etc. So I felt like a false sense of integrity, false sense of being loyal to a group of friends that did not see me as a friend at all. Um, Without realizing that just certain people have faults. There's like a DMX, a rapper. He has an interview with somebody where he says all you can do is expect people to be who they are. Right? If somebody's a thief, you can expect them to be a thief. If somebody's a liar, you can expect them to be a liar. If somebody's aggressive, you can expect them to be aggressive. And I wasn't discerning enough with the qualities of people because I was so desperate for friendship. And it just led to further complications in this scenario. And I don't know. At this point, right, I'm being still avoiding conflict where I don't want to talk to any of these individuals, clear up misunderstandings, because is it really worth it? After everything that's occurred, I'm still kind of debating all this. Was it worth it? I really don't think so. Because now there are other people that are caught in this crossfire, at least with the decisions I'm making and with what I'm doing for myself in terms of picking me first. I feel like I'm leaving a lot of friendships by the wayside that I've nurtured, and I'm not taking them into consideration. And at least for right now, it's because I'm picking me first. At least I'm picking my own well-being in terms of my own mental health. Not like anything bad happened. Not like anybody scorned seriously. But between me and this other person, or the wedge, I call him the wedge. I put him in such a scenario where he left. Like, I put him at such odds where he literally disappeared. And now that I'm gone, he's returned. Or at least that was like the thing that they're trying to do right now, but at this point I can't care anymore. I really can't. Like I actually didn't do anything. I didn't follow through with what I wanted. I didn't follow through with being honest with myself and telling myself I'm interested in this person. I should go talk to this person. I should do this. I should do X. I should do Y. I didn't do any of that because it wasn't integrity. A lot of it just came down to the other issue of I wasn't honest. So what could really come out of this? I didn't actually weigh out the pros, the cons, nothing, because I was just so caught up in the moment and caught up in all of these grinding gears that it left me paralyzed. You know what I mean? Analysis paralysis, where I kept analyzing these situations and I just paralyzed myself to the point where I let it all go. And yeah, kind of terrible. I don't know. I can't say that this is a solution, but in reality, I heard something towards the end where it like really hurt, where I was just like, I did this. This was my own fucking fault. Like, I shouldn't curse anymore because apparently YouTube's even more strict now. But I heard through the grapevine, right? Through one message, through one person saying something to somebody else and somebody else saying it to somebody else. I heard it was difficult for somebody to want to be there because they have nobody to talk to, or at least they didn't have anybody to interact with. It hurt so much that I was like, damn, like I kind of hit the eject button. I was just like, holy fuck, dude, I did this. This is my fault. Like, I'm not saying they didn't say that. It was just something I overheard. They weren't literally directing it at me. But right, if you can follow the dominoes, right, where did all this fucking start falling over? It was me. In a weird quasi weird way, it was me who kind of caused all of these dominoes to fall. Or at least I was the catalyst towards all of the house of cards crumbling. And right, even in my internal voice, like it was like, but he lied. He created these webs of lives. You didn't do any of that. And like, yeah, I'm not to blame for any of that, but at the same time, I destroyed something unknowingly. And that fucking kills me, dude. Like, it kills me to know that I was the cause. I'm to blame, this or that, right? Like, not to really harbor, like, not to really, what do I want to say? Not to really hinge on that fact, or not to be like caught up in that. It was just, it just hurts. There's no other way for me to fucking put it, I guess. Like, it just kills to know that I destroyed this little structure that was there. But why? I get caught up in the why. Why did I do that? A lot of it was I was kind of prideful. Because once I realized that I was lied to, and once I realized that I was being loyal to people who weren't necessarily telling the truth, I got a bit vindictive. I kind of got pissed. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I'm trying to be a friend and trying to be loyal to you while you lied about all of this. So I brought it over to the other person and I asked, what is the truth in this situation? And this person told me the truth, and I was just like, well, I added more details. I added more to the fire than I shouldn't have added. I shouldn't have said, well, I don't know. I just have a hard time with speaking truth because at this point it's just like, well, you don't know this, but this is what's going on behind your back. I think that part should have been excluded. I don't think I should have, smudged that little part right there because I should have let it go. I should have let that shit played out the way it should have played out. But when I think about it now, a lot of it was, how should I say, my own desire or my own, I can't say that. Like, I want to say it was my own desire because I wanted this person, but at the same time, I was more thinking of them in the sense of, I was thinking long term in the sense of, if this is the person you're going to keep around or keep company, this is what you should know about what's going on behind the scenes. And very selfish, at least the way I see it now with the way everything played out. And I don't know. It just led down troublesome road. And what happened afterwards, like, okay, this person I had 4 conversations with. I could literally count on one hand how many times I spoke to her. And it wasn't very much. As it is now, we're complete strangers. I doubt she even knows my name. And it's just like, fuck, dude. Fuck. Because after, I won't lie. I was talking to somebody and I eventually came to the conclusion. Nah, it's not that I was talking to this person. Either way, I spoke to somebody, but later down the road, I came to a conclusion where I saw this person, I saw this female interacting with the wedge and the group of friends. And that was the first time that I was like, you know what? I kind of feel bad now. Like, I shouldn't have gotten myself involved. or at least I shouldn't have become a problem for this dynamic. This person looks perfectly fine where they're at. And because I was being avoidant and because I didn't want to come to terms with whatever the fuck, I completely ghosted this person. I went cold on them. But later down the road, I came down to the conclusion was I kind of became resentful of this person because I was just like, this is the person who lied, who did this, who did that, da da da, right? I fucking made a whole list in my head and I was just like, I kind of justified myself in ghosting this person because I don't want to keep around somebody who uses this person for X, Y, or Z validation. And I'm assuming. And the reason why I made that assumption was because of the red pill community. Because there's this whole thing of, there's this whole idea and kind of proven fact. Not all females do this, but it is kind of known that females will keep certain men around just because they like the validation that it gives them about their looks, them being attractive, X, Y, or Z. And because I had that notion, that assumption in my head, I was like, I'm definitely not going to want to keep you around because this is what you're doing to him. Because let me tell you right now, this wedge, this dude was uber obsessed. Like, the things he would say would just make me cringe. It was just like, like, do you not see yourself from an external point of view? Do you not see how you're degrading yourself for something that won't ever come to fruition? But who am I to get in between his dreams, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I had no rhyme or reason to get between that. And, you know, it's kind of funny because there was somebody there who would call me a homewrecker. And I was just like, oh, that hurt. I was like, why are you calling me that? That was fucking killer, too. It's not like, trust, there's more details to the story of that would invalidate me being called a homewrecker. But in a weird way, it still kind of ended that way. Right? Me destroying this friend structure group, me destroying this certain time slot, da 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 da. Whatever, I could go on for hours from this. I don't even think I'm gonna fucking post this. What is this, Pox Toxic? Glad you said it. I hope you're doing okay, bud. Oh, thank you, Pox. Glad you said it. I don't even know what I said. Either way. Fuck. Now that Pox is here, or Pox said that, it even happened with his friend. It even happened when I was friends with them. This Pox Toxic and we called him Porpoise, but his name was Libertarian something. There were things that I couldn't even tell him, where I was just like, dude, you're completely jaded by your background. Like, you're not willing to look outside and right, the lack of honesty, the lack of me conflicting with him, which would have made for a great podcast because I was there for a while too. But right, me just avoiding shit. It kills on the inside. Just, you know, it's a slow drip poison, but that poison is administered by me. I'm not going to blame, right? I'm not going to just be like, well, it was his fault for X, Y, or Z. It's like, no. I'm going to blame myself for what I did wrong and for what I did for this, that, the other, whatever the fuck. Just, damn. I'm just caught up in what happened recently. And lack of honesty. just the lack of being honest. Just be like, dude, if you would have said this, or at least, right, I'm talking to myself. If I would have just been honest with him at the very beginning of all of this, when so this was the first time that I got invited out with this group of friends to go eat out. I was kind of pumped. I was kind of excited, like, oh, cool, like, this is the first time that I actually get to go out with this group of friends. instead of me being honest, and instead of me saying, whoa, who's that pretty gal? Right? Like, I'm attracted to her. Instead of me saying that, instead, I played the other part. I played the homie part where I'm going to give advice, this and that, like, because that moment would have changed everything. It would have changed absolutely everything that occurred afterwards. Because it's super cliche to say this, but the moment I saw her, it was, in my head, it was a wrap. It was a done deal where nothing, nothing could have, I don't know how to say it, right? Let's use movie analogies, right? Where it's like it's at that moment the world stopped. And then I saw her face, and I'm a believer, but either way, that moment would have completely changed everything. But instead, I was dishonest. I didn't admit to him, her, or anybody that, yo, I have this super serious attraction to this person. Right off the jump, right off the beginning. Like, it didn't take days, it didn't take hours, it didn't take a conversation with her, nothing. There was just this weird internal thing where I was just like, holy fuck. I've never felt this sense of attraction towards anybody before. Yeah, it's fucking hella cliche, but like, I've never actually met somebody who right? Usually, attraction for me takes a while, right? You gotta get to know the person, you gotta say hi, there's levels to that, right? Before you get to the, hey, I'm attracted to you. Way before you get to that point, right? Nah. This was, people kind of say, like, oh, it was the first day that I saw you, or shit like that. Nah. For me, it was the moment I saw this person, there was just this weird attraction that I had for this person, where it was just like, it freaked me out. It really freaked me the fuck out. Like, it put me in such a fucking fish out of water situation where I was just like, oh shit. And then I remembered everything before that, right? Everything that I had heard up to that point about who this person was, about what this person had done, about who XYZ, whatever the fuck, everything. Because it's kind of weird to meet somebody, kind of had a preconceived notion of who this person was and how this person is and what her personality type is, right? Like, I had all of these assumptions on who this person was, but then I meet them and I'm like, oh, like, it all went away. But then it all came back and I was like, oh shit. I can't admit that, because at that time I was convinced that this person was dating the wedge. So at that point I was like, oh, okay, this goes into an even older story, but this also goes into the fact that I absolutely I fucking hate so much females who have a boyfriend but will have the promiscuous eye with other guys. I go to the gym now, actively. So I see this shit happen so fucking often that it bugs me. It irritates the fuck out of me. Like, it really bothers me to see somebody with a guy that they're all lovey-dovey with, but then proceed to give the invitation or the instigation or the attraction or whatever the fuck you want to call that, of like, ooh, right? That wandering eye. So I immediately went into that mode and was just like, oh, reel that shit back. Like, this is one of your things. Like, this is a fucking, like, a non-negotiable thing. Only to find out that it was all a lie. Only to find out that none of that shit was real. And only to find out that there was other forces at play in that scenario. And Bruh, let me tell you. Let me fucking tell you. I destroyed that lie. A part of me is happy that I did, and a part of me also really regrets doing all that. Because it came from a dishonest place. It didn't come from like me being completely honest with myself. It didn't come from like me doing it from a right place. I was doing it from I don't know. I just was going day by day on the motions. Retrospectively, more complicated emotions, but I don't feel particularly proud of that situation, of like the way I went about telling the truth, because me being avoidant in that situation, I never told anybody. Like uh, I don't even know how to explain this. People to this day still think or still have this notion that that's his girl. After everything that's happened, after everything that fucking occurred, some people still believe him and her are something of an item. When the truth of the matter is far from that. Far, far, far from that. But again, who was I to get in between that? Probably nobody. Let's make this as long as possible so nobody ever clicks on this. I don't know. Of course, there's a lot more I can add to kind of justify my actions and this and that, but like that's not what this video is about. This video is more about just me talking about my own problems in this situation. Um, because that's the only person I could really hold accountable is myself. Um, Trust. There's a lot that I did during all of this time period that would really classify me as fucking toxic as fuck. But I was going at it day by day, motion by motion, and I was just being reactive. Mm, yeah, reactive. I can't say that I planned anything in like some grand fucking toxic way or anything. Like, either way, when I was being really avoidant, and the reason why I'm making this video is because there was a podcast that I recorded with my friend Hector. He's about to drop that episode, and I talk about this situation in his episode. This was recorded like a month ago, 2 months ago, and the fucking drama was up here, dude. But yeah, I don't know. I just wish I could apologize to certain people for creating misunderstandings, for kind of abusing of certain misunderstandings. I don't know. The only thing I could really say is I'm disappointed in myself for not being honest. I'm disappointed in myself for giving in to certain toxic traits, to not just being outright forthcoming on asking certain situations. Like, so at the beginning of all this, right, when I actually had the opportunity to speak to her, um, there were certain things that I should have asked. And one of them was, is it true that you do everything he says? Is it true? And the reason why that mattered at the time was because that led me to playing mind games with her. Because it was a thing of, I can't trust you. Like, a part of me thought and believed that, like, she was doing this out of spite against me. Again, this goes into the red pill stuff. This goes into MGTOW. This goes into the dark side of assumptions that I was making. And I wasn't completely sure of her intentions, his intentions, and I just kind of let that misunderstanding grow and grow and grow. Oh, just terrible. There are plenty of things. I don't know. Honesty. Honesty's such a bitch. I don't know what else to say. I could go into detail about the story, about XYZ, like, but it's not worth it. You know, it's letting dead things be dead things. The shit's all in the past. It does not matter anymore because it just doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Because if you hold on to the past, it will just give birth to more dead things, right? Because I held on to the past of my ex, which was she was a very nasty individual, and well, one of my exes was a very nasty individual, which kind of destroyed my later relationships. Um, because I held on to it. I held on to these ideas and to these notions of like not trusting people, this or that, like instead of just being open, honest, communicative, right? Not avoiding conflict. Um, it just gave birth to dead things. Like I wasn't I wasn't communicating through a place of sunshine. It was more of a place of like right, like I'm all ducking and dodging. Like, who are you? What are your intentions? What's this? What's that? Like this or that. I don't know. It's kind of funny how like a lot of people, their personalities, their decision making, like things that we do in life, are just reactions that we do because of the experiences that we've had, and we don't recognize that the decisions we're making sometimes are based off of bad experiences, and we don't address them, and because we don't address them, we just kind of let these experiences dictate our future decisions, which will kind of repeat in a cycle. Some people will call it the karmic cycle. Some people will call it the trauma based cycle. I don't remember the name of it. Um, and we're just playing out these fucking motions. And now more than ever, I recognize that not all people, but a lot of people play this song and dance of a power trip where people want to be in control of how certain things play out, and we play this song and dance of theater, and we're trying to like one up one another, or we're trying to be in this, like, I don't know, it's like we power trip in a conversational level of like, well, how much dirt do you have on me, or like this or that. Like it's that meme where um it's a relationship meme where they'll say that like the guy should never tell the female any of his problems, because then that female will use those problems against them when they get into an argument. It's like, MGTOW, red pill bullshit. Like, it's still the same shit either way. Because some people aren't operating from a place of honesty. They're operating from a place of, I don't want to say deceit, but just hurt. It's like, oh, how dare you hurt me because X, Y, or Z? I'm going to throw this in your face. And it's just like, what's the point of that? Like, really, what is the point of throwing shit in people's faces when all it's going to do is just fucking cause more fucking drama, turmoil, this, that? And this isn't for my situation. This is just in general. Instead of just being honest, right? a lot of a lot of problems would just be non-existent if we were just fucking honest. But no, not how it played out. It all played out dishonestly, manipulatively. I don't know why I said it that way. Deceitfully. Um, just because a lot of times people are trying to protect their egos, or we're just trying to protect or soften the blow of, I don't want to be judged. I don't want to be seen this way socially. I don't want whatever the fuck, whatever we value more because our ego tells us to value it more, instead of kind of addressing the issue of I was in the wrong. I did this wrong. I did that wrong. It just bugs so hard on me. But I don't know. I'm I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna let this all go and blah blah blah. Like right now, I'm mulling it over, thinking it through, speaking it through. Probably gonna delete this video and just remake it in a very different short form factor way. Um, mulling it over, mulling it over. It's just like put it to the grindstone and refine it. There's nothing else you can do. Or at least that's what I'm telling myself. There's nothing I can do. Because a lot of it comes down to I can't be honest with this person anymore because I don't know if we could have that sort of conversation. I don't know if we could speak to each other in a way that doesn't come across as I'm trying to play a mind game on you or you're trying to play a mind game on me. Because the way I think about it now is, at least the way I really think about it now is, we're both really hurt individuals who are putting our past experiences at the forefront, and we're not allowing each other to communicate through a place of non-deceit. Like, because anytime I spoke to her, that's how it came across to me, and I'm pretty sure I came across to her that way, or whatever the fuck. Because we're using our past experiences to operate. And a lot of people kind of do that. I'm not saying that, whatever. It's just something. So the cat that I used to work out with, he said something very interesting is, what we say to one another, sometimes we don't put ourselves in the shoes of the person receiving our own words. We don't really perceive what we're saying to one another in a way, right? We're not, well, I can't remember how he said it, but it's just, we don't really comprehend how our words are being conveyed or perceived. And I think that's where I'm at now, where it's like, because now that I think about it, there are things that I said that probably came across the wrong way, or are probably coming across in such a way that I'm playing like some fucking mind game, when in reality I'm just being blunt. Like, I'm just being fucking honest. Like, you know what I mean? Because if there were, if I stuck to my guns, if I would have stuck to the way I am internally, like 100%, I would have never ever, I would have never spoken to this person, just because of everything that I know about this person. And I'm talking about this chick that I'm interested in. Right? Like, she doesn't know that I know everything about her. I know all of her past experiences. I know everything that's occurred within this friend group. I know absolutely everything. Everything. And knowing what's occurred, I would have never spoken to this girl. Ever. I would have never allowed myself to even consider this person an option, because of who I am, because of my own stigmas, my own assumptions, my own, right? Like, you know how people have like rule sets, non-negotiables, red flags? This person ticked off so many of my red flags that even before I met her, I was like, definitely needing, right? I even told myself once when I was in the sauna listening to these fucking idiots talk about her, I told myself once, I would never talk to this kind of person, ever. Like, I was already judging them so fucking harshly before I even knew them. Only for all that to fall by the wayside later. Because there's a lot of other reasons why, but right, the way I see it, I would have never, ever, ever, ever really considered this person an option because of what I knew. But once I met her and once I kind of got to know her, I had it all wrong. I had it all wrong. Like absolutely all wrong. Well, mostly wrong. There are some things that were proven to me later, but whatever. But there was so much wrong in the way that I was handling that mentally that I recognize now. Fuck. Like I had no real reason. I had no real reason to distrust this person. Cuz in reality, a lot of her faults, a lot of her issues, I have too. And something that comes across to mind right now is don't throw stones at a glass house. And I can't remember how somebody explained it to me, but it was a thing of the faults that you see in somebody else are the same faults that you have yourself. And I did not realize how similar I was to this person until right now, right? As it all fucking ends and crumbles to the wayside, where I was just like, oh, I was judging this person on X, Y, and Z when I myself have these same fucking problems. And I never even like got to hear them from her side of the story. I only got to hear what everybody else said, what everybody else's preconceived notions were. It bugs the fuck out of me. Either way, I'm gonna delete this video now. Ah! I don't know. Do I delete this video? I don't even know. I spoke way too much about this shit. It's not like anybody's gonna watch it. I'm like literally contemplating. Live, on air. I'm gonna remake this video. To be short, nice, and sweet. Yes, let's do that. I've got everything off my head.